Hi and welcome to MoreMind Minis. My name is Joy Oakley. I am a holistic wellbeing coach, a yoga teacher, and I co-run the MoreMind Project here at MoreYoga. And today I'm going to be leading you through a short exercise. It can be long if you like, depending on how long you have available and how long you'd like to spend. But we're going to be looking at connecting and cultivating a little bit more connection this week. In a time where we might all feel quite disconnected, it's really important to practice more connection. And today specifically, we're going to be connecting to what well-being means to us and how we can all better support our own well-being during this time. So for this practice, you'll need a pen and paper, something to write on and with, and just a comfortable, quiet seat. So getting yourself settled, you can pause the video if you need to grab anything. Otherwise, find a comfy seat. That might be on your bed, it might be on the floor, on a yoga mat, on a blanket or a rug, whatever feels best for you. And when you're ready, close the eyes down. Rest the hands either on the knees or just comfortably in the lap and bow the head. And start by taking a few deep breaths. Into the nose, sighing out through the mouth. Into the nose, out through the mouth. One more deep breath in. And one more deep breath out. Just clearing the mind of any busy thoughts, any distractions, to-do lists. Just giving yourself permission to be present for our practice today. Noticing your posture, seeing if you can sit up a little bit taller, comfortably. Relaxing the shoulders, maybe rolling the shoulders a few times. Maybe rolling the head gently a few times just to relax the neck. And when you're ready, take a deep breath in and a long breath out. And slowly blink the eyes open. So our practice today is going to be part reflection, part journaling, and we'll finish with a short meditation. So we're going to start firstly by looking at what well-being really is and what well-being means to you. Well-being has kind of exploded over the past few years and become an industry in its own right, but really understanding what our own well-being means and what feeling well means to us is a really important journey of self-discovery and part of our self-care as well. So when you look up well-being, which I did this morning, you will find a million different results and a million different opinions. But what I have summarized as well-being is the experience of health, happiness, and prosperity. And that can extend to our physical, our mental, our emotional, and our social well-being. So all the different elements of our lives as human beings. And when we're talking about prosperity, we are talking about being successful, flourishing, and thriving. So what I would like you to do is grab your notebooks, and we're going to spend a little bit of time on each of those 4 areas of our lives: physical, mental, emotional, and social. If you need a little bit more time on any of these sections, guys, feel free to just pause the video and then rejoin when you're ready. Don't rush. I'll give you a few moments for each section, but if you need longer, don't be afraid to pause and take as much time as you need. So on each of these sections, I'd like you to just journal and write freely what well-being means to you with relation to this area. So let's start with physically. And under physically, I'd like you to write, how am I feeling physically? How am I feeling physically? How am I feeling physically? ready, what does feeling well physically, what does physical well-being mean to me? What does physical well-being mean to me? And try not to think about it too much. Try not to kind of question yourself. Just writing freely. How am I feeling physically? So checking in with yourself. Where's feeling good? Where's maybe feeling a little bit stiff or tight? If you're feeling unwell, writing down those feelings. And then what does feeling well physically mean to me? So spending a few moments there. And just remembering with these exercises, no one else is going to see what you've written unless you invite them to. This is just a private exercise to reflect a little bit and connect to what well-being means to you. If you need a little bit more time on that first section, pause. Otherwise, let's move on to mentally. How are you feeling mentally at the moment? And I know at this time a lot of us are suffering with anxiety, with stress. There's a lot going on around the world. So feel free to just explore that at the moment and write freely and openly how you're feeling mentally at the moment. With any reflective exercise, you may notice emotions coming up. Try not to push those feelings down. Try to allow those things to come up. Allow yourself to express those feelings honestly and authentically at the moment. How am I feeling mentally? And when you're ready, what does mental well-being mean to me? What would it mean to feel mentally well for you? Not worrying about how anyone else might answer this question, how it might look if you Google it. Thinking about how mental well-being, how that would look to you, how that would feel to you. So we'll take another moment on this second section. If you need any longer, feel free to just pause the video and rejoin when you're ready. And we'll move on to our third section, emotionally. So asking yourself the question, how am I feeling emotionally at the moment? How are you feeling emotionally at the moment? So just journaling, just jotting down anything, any words, phrases that come to mind. And when you're ready, coming to our second part of that section, what does emotional well-being mean to me? What does emotional well-being mean to you? How am I feeling emotionally? What does emotional well-being mean to you? What would it mean to feel emotionally well? And we'll spend about 30 more seconds on this third section before we move on to our final section of this exercise. Remembering you can pause at any point if you need to. Otherwise, we'll come to social well-being, not something a lot of us kind of connect with well-being, being socially well. But it's actually a really important part of our well-being. As humans, we're generally quite social creatures. So writing in this final section, how am I feeling socially? And that might seem like a funny question to answer at the moment, but actually we're very connected thanks to social media, thanks to the internet, even though we are locked down and it's difficult to socialize unless we're living with people. But actually, how are you feeling socially at the moment? Are you feeling connected? Have you been checking in with loved ones, relatives, friends? Are you feeling quite connected through social media, or are you feeling maybe a little bit overwhelmed by the sudden influx of online socializing, online information? So taking a moment here, how am I feeling socially? And when you're ready, moving on to what does social well-being mean to me? So what would social well-being mean to you? What does it mean to you? Is it an important thing to you? Remembering there's no right or wrong answers here. Just taking this time to reflect and to connect with these areas of our well-being. I'll spend just another moment on this last question. So when you're ready, let's just take a deep breath in together and a long sigh out. Beautiful. So on a new piece of paper or a new sheet, a new page in your notebook, I'd now like you to, we're going to continue considering those 4 sections of well-being. What I'd like you to do now is, under those 4 focuses, those 4 sections, write down words or activities that you relate to positive well-being. So we'll start with physical well-being again. So writing down just freely on your page words or activities related to positive physical well-being. And those could be things that you love doing: yoga, running, walking, going to the gym. Those could be things that you feel would bring you more physical well-being. So just jotting down anything that comes to mind here. And remembering there's no right or wrong answers. We're just connecting to the things that will improve our well-being or can help to support our well-being during this time. So when you're ready and there's no rush, moving on to mental well-being. Mental well-being. So words or activities related to positive mental well-being. So perhaps things that you find mindful. Maybe any techniques or practices that help reduce stress and anxiety. Things that help lift your mood. Things you might like to try. Meditation, journaling, as we are practicing at the moment. So anything that comes to mind, anything for your mental well-being. And remembering with this particular section, this could be something that you love doing as well, something that brings you joy, something that makes you feel well, something that makes you feel driven and happy, something that boosts your mood. And when you're ready, coming to your emotional well-being. And this is a little bit different to our mental well-being. Emotional well-being is really about connecting to yourself and your feelings on an emotional level. So this could be associated with feeling listened to, feeling supported, feeling loved, feeling nurtured. And that might be by yourself as well, nurturing your own feelings. So emotional well-being. Jotting down words or activities that relate to positive emotional well-being. And that might be, for example, I spoke to a close friend yesterday for an hour and I felt really full of love at the end of that phone call. So I think sometimes if we're feeling lonely, these kind of activities, connecting to others or spending a little bit of time connecting to what might help us feel less lonely, is a really powerful practice as well. So when you're ready, we'll come to our final section, social well-being, connected to others. So we're jotting down words and activities related to how you would feel socially positive. So positive social well-being. So that might be how you connect to others, checking in with people, speaking to people on the phone instead of messaging every day. Or maybe you prefer messaging, maybe you're more of an introverted person, or maybe you're an extroverted person, and there are other ways that you can help express that nature of yours and stay connected to people on Zoom or House Party or any of these other amazing apps coming up. Or maybe for you it's writing. It's a more personal way of expressing yourself and staying connected to others. So we'll just spend a last minute there, finishing off those 4 sections: physical, mental, emotional, and social. If you need a little bit more time, you can pause the video here. And when you're ready, let's take a deep breath in together into the nose and sigh out through the mouth. And this takes us to our final exercise of our practice today. And this is something I love working with my coaching clients. I often do this myself actually. And I think actually in this time when a lot of us are staying in and maybe have a bit more time on our hands than usual, this can be a powerful practice. I actually use this a lot outside of lockdown when my weeks are becoming too busy and I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, but it can be equally as helpful when we're maybe not feeling lively, when we feel like we need a little bit of a boost or a bit of inspiration on how to look after ourselves and how to support our well-being. So I'd like you to just take a new page and separate your page into 2 columns. And in one column, the first column, please write, I will say no to. I will say no to. That's your heading. And in your second column, write, to say yes to. To say yes to. So your first column is, I will say no to. We're going to fill that in. And your second column is, to say yes to. And what we're going to look at now is reflecting on all the thoughts that we've considered already around what these different areas of our well-being means and how we can connect to what really isn't serving us, what we can say no to in order to say yes to more effective, more helpful and more useful ways of supporting our well-being. So in your first section, you can start by making a list of the things that maybe are not serving you so much at the moment, the things that are making you feel disconnected, overwhelmed, maybe stressed. Even in lockdown, we can still feel stressed when there's not So much to do. So I will say no to. And you might be just as busy as usual, more busy in lockdown. If you have a family and children at home, you might be finding that you are a little bit overwhelmed by things as well. And that's okay, wherever you're at the moment, be honest, be authentic with yourself. So to give you some examples here, I've written, I will say no to being on 5+ Zoom calls a day. And then in my second section, I said, so that I can say yes to more time to be present and to practice a hobby. So by saying no to being on so many Zoom calls a day that may be taking up kind of hours out of the day unnecessarily, and I might be feeling disconnected during those calls, I'm going to say yes to something that actually makes me feel a little bit more mindful, more relaxed, and less stressed. You might say no to spending another whole day watching Netflix, for example, which is fine. We all need to have balance in our lives as well. But if you're getting a little bit bored of that kind of interaction, maybe replacing that by saying yes to making the time to call someone you love, making the time for a meditation practice, or to do some movement-based online classes. Just remember, this isn't an exercise to punish you. It's really an exercise to reflect on how to connect to your own well-being and how we can all support ourselves better during this very strange, very uncertain time. So we'll take a couple more moments here, just reflecting on the areas of time, the areas of your life that you'd like to say no to, in order to say yes to some of those things that we reflected on in that second exercise, some of those words or activities related to positive well-being. So maybe glancing back at that page, maybe taking a look at that first section of what does positive or what does well-being mean to you, physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially, and thinking about what you would like to say yes to. That can also be another way to approach this, starting by looking at actually what you would like to say yes to more. If you would like to practice a new hobby that's going to take a few hours, for example, starting to paint again. I did some really terrible watercolors the other day, but it was really nice and mindful, and I felt great at the end of it. Or maybe you would like to write a letter to somebody, or maybe you want to spend a bit more time with your kids in a more present way. So what can you say? What would you like to say yes to? And in order to say yes to that, what will you say no to? Maybe having the TV on 24 hours a day. I know we can all be, what's the word? Guilty. We can all be guilty of that, but we're not punishing ourselves in this exercise. Reflecting. And if you need a bit more time, it can take as long as you need over this exercise. Just pause the video and you can rejoin when you're ready. Okay, so let's take a deep breath in and a long sigh out. And that's a great little exercise to do outside of lockdown, inside of lockdown. Whenever you're feeling like you need a little bit more purpose, you feel like you need to connect back with yourself. I often do this when I'm feeling overworked or overwhelmed, and I look at what I want to say yes to, and in order to do those things, what I need to say no to be able to free up that time and that headspace as well, that energy to make those things available to myself. So well done, guys. I'm going to finish with a guided meditation just to help relax after that practice and center yourselves back. So find a comfortable seat, maybe shuffle around if you're sat still, or find a cushion to pop yourself on or a blanket, and close the eyes down. Taking a deep breath in. A long breath out. A deep breath in. And a long breath out. Just clearing the mind again. Just allowing any sensations, feelings, emotions to wash over the body. With every exhale, letting the body soften a fraction more, allowing the shoulders to relax, allowing the head to feel heavy. Finding a comfortable rhythm with your breath into the nose, out through the nose. With the head remaining bowed, the eyes still closed, just bring the hands to rest over the heart space. And slowly bringing your awareness into this space at the chest, warm space where the palms are resting now. And I'd like you to invite into your heart space something that brings you joy. Something, an activity, a pastime, a hobby. If you're lucky, it might be work related, family, friends, a pet. Just something that brings you a sense of joy, something that sparks that sensation of joy within you. And take a few deep breaths into that sensation. Take a few breaths into that focus. Allow the heart to fill. Allow the lungs to empty. And when you're ready, just float the hands back down to the knees. And we'll take 3 deep breaths together. Into the nose. Out through the mouth. Into the nose, out through the mouth. Last deep breath in, last deep breath out. Keeping the eyes closed, keeping the head bowed. I'd like to just close our MoreMind mini workshop today. The reading by my favourite poet, Erin Hansen. Really resonated with me today. Don't grow weary with your wonder, for there are sunsets still to see. Lands you must get lost in, and other selves you'll come to be. Don't grow weary with your wonder, for this is just the opening act. And if wonder's what you search for, wonders what you will attract. So when weary be your world, and darkness drags the daylight under, turn your face up to the stars, and don't grow weary with your wonder. Before we open the eyes, just take a moment to connect to an intention we can take away with us from this practice around supporting your well-being. And only when you're ready, slowly begin to just blink the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice today. and I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you'd like to check out any more of our MoreMind mini-series, they are on YouTube. This is our second week. Last week we looked at anchoring to acceptance.